Have you ever sat down at the breakfast table with a huge stack of pancakes just waiting to be devoured by you, and you reach across the table to that bottle of sugary goodness that is pancake syrup and read the label on that bottle saying Aunt Jemima? Have you ever wondered who that person is staring back at you with the warm smile? Well, you will in this video. Welcome to Have History Will Travel. I am your host, the Wilder Historian, and today I want to talk about the real Aunt Jemima and how she became synonymous with pancakes. Before we can talk about Aunt Jemima, we have to talk about what brought around the need for pancake mix in the first place. Wheat was being grown at an exponential rate in the late 1800s, with the settlement of the Great Plains and the mechanical reaper making farmers able to plant more wheat because now they could harvest more. The owners of the Pearl Milling Company, Chris Rutt and Charles Underwood, found that they were losing money because of the influx of flour made the product nearly worthless. So, these men came up with a new product that would prompt people to buy their flour. By making some of the first pancake ready mix, making the consumer's grocery shopping more convenient by placing all the ingredients needed for pancakes in a single container. This allowed for their sales to increase. After seeing a minstrel show that portrayed African Americans in a racist manner, they adopted the Aunt Jemima character from the show into their marketing gimmick to sell their product. Quickly after adopting the image of Aunt Jemima to represent the pancake mix, they were bought out by the R.T. Davis Milling Company. It was that company that hired a spokeswoman as the very first Aunt Jemima. They would hire Nancy Green, a former slave born in 1834 in Mount Sterling in Montgomery County, Kentucky. The first big exposure of Aunt Jemima pancake mix and Aunt Jemima herself, Nancy Green, was at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago in 1893. The exposition was meant to display the innovations of the United States and around the world. To demonstrate how important this exposition was to the people of the late 1800s, it was the first time that many people would see electricity on display. Other technological and agricultural innovations were shown to the American public. This humongous display of innovation attracted approximately 25.8 million people. The R.T. Davis Milling Company bought a booth at the fair where Nancy Green would be making pancakes for the public and promoting the product. The Aunt Jemima booth was a huge hit, with Nancy cranking out pancakes for the fascinated and hungry onlookers. Such a crowd emerged around Nancy that the police had to be brought in to maintain the crowd. By the end of the fair, Nancy had made thousands of pancakes for people, and the exposition gave her an award for showmanship. Green would portray Aunt Jemima until 1923 when she was killed in a car wreck. 3 years later, the Quaker Oats Company would purchase the Aunt Jemima brand, and they own it to this day. Numerous other women would portray Aunt Jemima, including a woman named Ethel Harper, who would be the first to portray Aunt Jemima on television. Rosie Hall, who was an advertising employee for the Quaker Oats Company before being hired to portray Aunt Jemima, became so iconic that her grave was declared a historic landmark. The Aunt Jemima character has become iconic in American culture, and hope this video has enlightened you to the rich history surrounding one of our more prominent products in American food.